Well, hi there, everyone. It's time to talk soccer. Done a lot of work on the soccer algorithms. What a horrible day to go over the results for them because it's one of the worst we've ever seen. However, we're going to learn about how to make these things better. This is part of the process of making the algorithms better, is figuring out what distributions are best. Because right now we clearly need to work on that, and I'll explain why. So we're taking a look at the master soccer picks file. What this is this keeps track of all the different leagues that we keep track of. Bundesliga, Champions League, English Premier League, La Liga, Liga MX, Liga 1, MLS, and Serie A. And right, all these things are in here. So if you can just click on the day and you can see how we've done today. There are a few games still going on late, but I put this summary up here at the top to talk about what's going on so we can keep track of wins and losses and projected scores. So today, raw wins and raw losses, 9 and 16. That is awful in soccer. I mean, it's awful in general, but that is terrible, terrible, terrible. And there are 8 games that either resulted in a draw or are still being played right now and not done. Okay. So brutal, brutal. 9 out of like 33 games recorded. Yeah, that's right. 9 out of 33 games to actually get like right. Now, there's other ways of talking about whether or not you got the game right, and that's by projected score. I set up this thing to say, does the projected score predict a draw? Okay, we have a projected score over here. Is it predicting a draw? Like in this game, it is. In this game between Mainz and Hoffenheim, this was supposed to be a draw. It wasn't even close. 1899 Hoffenheim crushed them. All right. So that means we predicted there would be a draw. And then how many times was it actually a draw? 0. That's right. 0 times we predicted a draw. It was actually a draw today. This is so awful. I mean, this is such a terrible day. And we'll go over each league in a second, but I want to show you what a not terrible day looks like yesterday. Yesterday was 3-1 and it predicted 3 draws and one of them actually was a draw, right? That's what this is. This means like we had it predicted Werder Bremen and Augsburg won, so that was a loss here. But it predicted Monterrey to win and they did win. It also apparently predicted a draw here. Which I don't remember seeing that last night. So I got to double check the scores here as well. But point is there's a lot going on in this file and there's a lot of things to talk about. Today, it was brutal. Bundesliga. Bundesliga got Bundes spanked. Awful. 0-4, and there were 2 draws. And the one game we predicted a draw, it wasn't even a draw. Um, I mean, wow, awful. Okay, so that happens. La Liga, 1-3, awful. Only game we win is Barcelona, which somehow had 55 minutes of injury time. I don't know what that was all about. Everything else lost. Valencia loses. Not a tie in the Seville Espanola game. I mean, terrible. Liga MX, couple games still going on between Guadalajara and Puebla, and Toluca is of course losing right now. I'm looking at the scores on my phone just to double check. Liga MX. Those scores have not changed. So 1-2 with 2 draws, and we wouldn't even have predicted those as draws. Terrible. Liga on. At least we go 1-1 here, but Lille loses to Marseille. I mean, everything bad. Serie A actually was good. That's the only thing that won today. But the lines were awful, and they were all favorites, and they all won. So wherever we tried to pick off underdogs, we lost. The odds makers did so much better than the algorithms. It's why it's obvious that I need to go and I need to change percentages and distribution percentages in these areas. There's this whole area here where we have a percentage for each one of these things. How much do we care about yellow cards? How much do we care about goals? I need to go and evaluate all these percentages independently, which is what I was going to do once we got everything rolling here. And that's what we need to do right now. And we need to reevaluate that, see what's important, because the percentages we have are clearly not working right now to lose this many games and to only agree with big favorites here. Then there's MLS, terrible. Some games still going on 3-6, predicted 4 draws. None of them have been draws. I mean, I cannot express how awful this was today. I mean, the only thing that won was that like Philadelphia team won. That one that was predicted to score a lot of goals here. And Real Salt Lake is not even winning. It's tied against DC United. Where's the Philadelphia game? Here, yeah, Philadelphia 2.84. And they ended up winning this game like 5-1, right? So point is awful, 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 awful day. But I'm glad we've at least organized this. And the next thing I'm going to do is start doing some dynamic, essentially regression testing and trying to backfit these variables for each one of these leagues to get this to project some scores that are going to change, because it's as easy as that. You can just literally go in, you can go into the MLS file right here. We can all of a sudden change this around and say that, we don't care anything about yellow cards really. And instead we care more about, goals by 75%. And when we do that, watch what happens. So that's in MLS. Like, look at what'll happen to the scores. Scores are going to change dramatically. So the Portland was supposed to be 2.64 to 1.8. Watch what happens. Now it's 3.34 to 1.6. All of a sudden, we totally change stuff. And our record changes. Now all of a sudden we go to 4 and 5. And now all of a sudden, all these scores look a little different. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to test all these percentages and figure out what are the relevant variables. I'm going to go one by one through these and isolate them and see which ones are relevant, and then throw those together in a nice mix. And I'm not going to do it with an automated macro to try to do it, because it's just too complicated to write the macro. I'm just going to try to test it out by hand, and then we'll start applying these percentages to everybody else, and we'll see what works, because clearly this needs to be adjusted as it should. I didn't do any work to really test these percentages out ever. I just threw them together. So it makes sense that not every variable is relevant, and we're going to find out which ones are. And that's the next step of this, because everything else is basically set up. Like, we can browse through all this super fast. I mean, you can see these projections are a bit sketchy right now, right? Because I haven't done the work. But what about tomorrow's games? Here they all are. There are 22 of them in here. Okay. And we've got all these different leagues. And you could just go down the line, and we could say, well, what looks good, even though I know we had a bad day yesterday, doesn't mean we're gonna have a bad day today, but we do need to do work. I've got the scores to 2 decibels now. Like, Real Madrid's supposed to put up a lot. We could even try sorting this by score differential or something, so that we have a way to browse this. But it's showing you who it's going to pick. And I mean, I don't see this. This is an underdog, Lyon over Monaco. It says that's a pretty big one, and that's a good line for Lyon. What else? No. 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 This looks like a draw. Angers and Montpellier. Villarreal's a decent line for a 2-1 game. So this line of Athletic and Ishe, that's a good line for Athletic. That's in La Liga. And Atlas, that's a reasonable line. This is supposed to be a draw between Cruz Azul and Mazatlan. I gotta get that right. No. All right. So anyway, that's the breakdown. I wanted to show you that stuff is looking better, even if it's not winning yet. And so I'll be doing some regression work then, and we should be able to apply a similar percentage structure to all the leagues, but I'm going to test them out individually one by one to see kind of what it does, because we can actually retroactively test this with the days that we have here already. So I can start changing and then retroactively look and see how many games it would have won. Because right now it's showing that all the games up to the 10th were 58 and 37 right now. And 31 of those games were draws or haven't finished yet. And we predicted 36 draws and we got 12 of them. Okay. So we're getting 1 out of every 3 draws, which is saying that if you can get a draw line of over 300, 3-1, then I think that's saying you can do it, right? Because you're going to get 1 out of every 3. or maybe even a little better than that, actually. So a lot of interesting things to go over, even though bad day, but that's okay. In my opinion, that's okay. I lost. I made a lot of picks on a lot of soccer games and missed. I mean, did not cash on any of my soccer bets today. I got spanked. But that's going to happen as we're learning here. So just understand that anytime you bet one day, you might lose that, and you got to always be ready for that. So we'll get to work and be back tomorrow. There's a lot going on. There's American football going on tomorrow. There's baseball. There's all kinds of stuff. It never ends. All right. Good luck, everybody. May all your picks be winning.